You are sitting on the bottom bunk with your hands folded between your knees. The cell block is quiet, too quiet. No shouting from the showers, no dominoes slapping against metal tables, no guards yelling count. Just the low buzz of fluorescent lights and the sound of someone breathing across from you. The lieutenant stands outside your cell, one hand wrapped around the bars, watching you like he has been studying you for hours. He does not look angry, that is what makes it worse. Angry men make mistakes. Calm men notice them. He tilts his head and says your prison name. Not your real name, the one the FBI built for you. The one printed on your fake file, your fake charges, your fake transfer papers, your fake life. You don't talk much, he says. You shrug like that means nothing. Inside, your pulse is beating against your throat. He smiles a little. Most new fish talk too much. They tell stories, where they're from, who they ran with, who they know. He steps closer to the bars. But you don't. You keep your face empty. That is what they trained you to do. No reaction, no fear, no FBI eyes. But prison is different. In here, silence is not always strength. Sometimes silence is evidence. The lieutenant looks past you, toward the camera mounted high in the corner of the tier. Then he looks back at you. You always know where the cameras are. For 1 second, your body wants to freeze. You do not let it. You lean back against the wall like you are tired, like you are bored, like you have spent your whole life behind concrete. But you have not. 6 weeks ago, you had a badge. Now you have a number. And the man outside your cell is starting to understand that something about you does not belong here. They do not send you into prison because the system is working. They send you in because the system is already infected. 3 months before you ever wore the jumpsuit, you were sitting in a windowless FBI conference room, staring at photographs spread across a metal table. Dead witnesses, burned cars, confiscated phones, correctional officers with bank deposits they could not explain. At the center of it all was one federal prison. Gray walls, razor wire, floodlights, a place built to keep criminals away from the world. Except the criminals inside were still reaching out. The Bureau called it Operation Iron Cell. A prison gang was running drugs, extortion, and outside violence from behind bars. Orders moved through contraband phones. Money moved through relatives. Messages moved through corrupt guards who looked the other way for cash. Every informant they sent in got exposed. Every witness got scared. Every case came close, then collapsed. Your handler slid a folder toward you. Inside was your new life, new name, new criminal history, new sentence, new enemies, new scars you had to explain if someone asked. You won't be armed, she said. You looked at her. She did not blink. You won't have a badge. You won't have backup inside the unit. If your cover breaks, we may not reach you in time. That was the part nobody said twice, because everyone in the room understood what it meant. Inside that prison, you would not be FBI. You would be inmate 44719, a convicted armed robber transferred after a fight at another facility. That was the story. Your job was simple on paper. Get close to the gang, find the corrupt guard, prove the orders were leaving the prison. Simple on paper, but paper does not bleed. You signed the last document with your real name. Then they took your badge, your phone, your wallet, and your life. When you walked out of that room, you were already disappearing. The first thing they take is your name. Not officially. Officially, your real name still exists somewhere in a sealed FBI file, locked behind passwords and signatures. But inside the prison system, you are someone else now. A man with a record, a man with enemies, a man with a sentence long enough to make people stop asking questions. They shave your head shorter than you want. They photograph your face under white intake lights that make everyone look already guilty. A guard reads your fake charges from a clipboard. Armed robbery, assault during transport, gang association suspected. None of it is true, but the men in the holding cage do not know that. They only see another inmate in state-issued clothes, standing barefoot on cold concrete, trying not to look new. You keep your shoulders loose, not too straight, not too military, not too clean. That was the hardest thing to unlearn, the way you stand. FBI training teaches you to enter rooms like you belong there. Prison teaches the opposite. In here, confidence is not always power. Sometimes it is an invitation. A guard pushes a plastic bin toward you. One jumpsuit, one towel, one blanket, one number, no badge, no weapon, no real name. Just fabric, concrete, and a story you have to survive. When the first gate opens, the sound hits your chest. Metal rolling against metal. A sound so heavy it feels final. You step forward with the other inmates. The second gate opens, then the third. Every door closes behind you before the next one opens. That is when it becomes real. Not when you signed the papers, not when they built your fake file, not when your handler told you the risks. It becomes real when you hear the last gate lock behind you. And for the first time in your life, no one on the right side of the bars can see your face. Your first day inside does not feel like a day. It feels like one long warning. Every sound is too sharp. Every stare lasts too long. Every step feels measured by men who learned how to smell fear years ago. You walk into the housing unit carrying your mattress roll under one arm and your state bag in the other. No one says welcome, they just look. Some from the tables, some from the stairs, some from behind half-open cell doors. You keep your eyes moving, but not too much. Look too low, you look weak. Look too long, you look like a threat. Look at the cameras, and you look like exactly what you are. So you look at nothing. A guard points to your cell like he is pointing at a grave. Bottom bunk. That is all he says. Inside, the air smells like bleach, sweat, and old concrete. You set your things down slowly. Your cellmate watches from the top bunk, pretending not to care. Across the tier, the lieutenant is standing near the phones. You notice him before you mean to. Calm face, clean shoes, hands folded in front of him. He is not the biggest man in the unit. He does not need to be. Men move around him without being told. That is how you know. Power in prison does not always shout. Sometimes it just stands still and lets everyone else make space. At dinner, you sit alone. That is another mistake. You realize it too late. A tray hits the table across from you. The lieutenant sits down. No warning, no introduction. He looks at your food, then at your hands. Transfer, right? You nod once. From where? You give the answer they trained into you. He listens. Then he smiles like he heard the words, but not the truth behind them. And that is the first time you understand something. The operation did not start when you entered prison. It started the moment he noticed you. The lieutenant does not accuse you. That would be too easy. He just starts appearing. At breakfast, he is 2 tables away, talking to someone else while his eyes keep returning to you. In the yard, he stands near the fence, pretending to watch a card game while you walk the track alone. In the hallway, he passes close enough for his shoulder to brush yours, just to see how your body reacts. You give him nothing. No flinch, no stare, no challenge. But that might be the problem. Real inmates react. They curse. They posture. They over-explain. They try to prove they are not afraid. You do not. You stay too controlled, too measured, too clean in a place where clean men get noticed. The next morning a door slams behind you so hard the whole tier jumps. You do not. You only turn your head, slow, careful, like a man checking a threat, not a man startled by noise. The lieutenant sees it. Of course he sees it. Later, he asks where you grew up. You answer with the city from your file. He asks what block. You answer that too. Then he asks who you ran with. That is where the lie gets thinner. Not because you do not know the answer. You memorize names, streets, old arrests, fake enemies, but you say them like facts, not memories. The lieutenant smiles without showing teeth. You talk like a file. The words land cold in your stomach. You laugh once, low and tired, like prison already bored you. But he is not laughing. His eyes move to the camera above the tier, then back to you. You always know where those are. You do not look up. You already know where it is. That is the mistake, and now he knows it too. Trust does not come all at once. In prison, it comes in pieces. A seat at the right table, a nod from the right man, a silence no one questions. The lieutenant never says you are accepted. He just stops telling people to stay away from you. That is the first door. You take it carefully. You do not ask questions. You do not act eager. You do not look impressed. You just exist close enough to hear things. A name whispered during breakfast. A number passed in the laundry room. A guard who always walks the same tier 5 minutes before count. Small things. But small things are why the FBI sent you here. By the 3rd week, men start using you for simple favors. Move this towel, hold this seat. Tell them the phones are busy. Stand there and watch the door. Nothing big, nothing that sounds like a crime when you say it out loud. But every favor is a thread, and every thread leads somewhere. You learn the gang does not run on fear alone. It runs on routine. Who gets food first? Who gets protection? Who owes money? Who gets left alone, who does not. The lieutenant watches you through all of it, still quiet, still patient, like he is waiting for your mask to slip. Then one afternoon he sits beside you in the yard, no warning. He looks straight ahead and speaks low enough that only you can hear. There's a guard on evening shift. Hanley, you see him? You don't talk. You listen. That is the first real name, your first real opening. You keep your face flat, but inside, everything sharpens, because now the operation has a pulse, a corrupt guard, a link between the prison and the outside, the thing the FBI could never prove. The lieutenant finally gave you a door. Now you just have to walk through it without letting him see how badly you needed it. Hanley does not look like a man running a prison pipeline. That is what makes him useful. He has tired eyes, a soft stomach, and the kind of face people forget before he leaves the room. Most inmates ignore him. The smart ones do not. He walks the tier like a man counting time until retirement. But every evening, 5 minutes before lockdown, he slows near the same cells. Never long, never obvious, just enough. A pause near the phones, a glance toward the showers, a folded piece of paper disappearing into his palm. You see it on the third night, not because he is careless, because you were trained to notice patterns. That is the dangerous part. Training keeps you alive. Training can also expose you. So you force yourself to look bored. You sit at a steel table, pretending to read an old magazine while Hanley passes close behind you. The lieutenant is watching from the second floor. You can feel him without looking. Hanley stops near your table. For half a second, his hand drops beside your tray. Something small touches the metal. Then he keeps walking. No words, no eye contact. You wait. 1 breath, 2, 3. Then you cover it with your hand. A torn corner of paper, 1 number written on it, not a phone number, a cell number. A message is waiting there. The FBI needs this. Names, dates, proof. But the lieutenant is still above you, leaning against the rail, watching, testing. If you move too fast, he knows. If you move too slow, he knows. So you do the only thing prison teaches every man eventually. You act like nothing matters. You finish your food. You leave the paper under the tray. And when you stand, you do not look at Hanley. You look at the floor, like an inmate, like a man with nothing to hide, like a man who is already becoming the lie. The message leads to nothing. That is how you know it was bait. The cell number on the paper belongs to an inmate with no gang ties, no outside contacts, no reason to matter. Just an empty door, a dead end built for one purpose, to see what you would do with it. You realize it during breakfast the next morning, when the lieutenant sits across from you with that same calm face. He does not mention Hanley. He does not mention the paper. He does not mention the cell. He just watches you eat. Then he says, "Funny thing happened last night." You keep chewing, slow, tired, prison tired. He leans back. Someone searched the wrong cell. Your stomach tightens, but your face stays dead. The FBI moved too fast. Or maybe they did exactly what you warned them not to do. Either way, the lieutenant has his answer, not proof. Something worse, a feeling. And in prison, a feeling is enough to get a man hurt. He looks past you toward the phones, where a young inmate is standing alone, pretending not to shake. The kid from your unit. Quiet, scared, easy to blame. The lieutenant smiles without warmth. Somebody in here likes talking. You say nothing. That is what you are supposed to do. Protect the operation. Protect the case. Protect the months of work buried under your fake name. But the young inmate looks over at you. Just once. A quick look. Small. Terrified. Human. And you understand the trap now. The lieutenant is not asking if you are FBI. He is asking what kind of man you are. If you stay silent, the kid pays for your cover. If you speak, your cover starts bleeding. The lieutenant stands and drops his tray into the trash. Before he walks away, he leans close enough for you to hear him breathe. "Tonight," he says. 1 word, that is all. But in prison, 1 word can sound exactly like a death sentence. Night comes slower when you know what it is bringing. The whole unit feels different after count, quieter, heavier, like every man inside already knows something is about to happen and has decided not to see it. You sit on your bunk, staring at the floor, listening to the pipes knock inside the walls. No call from your handler, no signal, no rescue, just concrete, steel, and the fake name holding your real life together. Then the cell doors open for evening movement. The young inmate is standing near the showers, alone. Two alone. The lieutenant is at the end of the tier with two men beside him. He does not look at you first. That is the message. He wants you to watch. He wants to know if the kid means anything to you. You tell yourself to stay still. The case is bigger than one inmate. The operation is bigger than your guilt. The Bureau did not send you here to save everyone. But then the kid looks at you, and for 1 second, you do not see an inmate. You see a scared 19-year-old who does not understand why the room has turned against him. Your legs move before your training can stop them. You cross the tier, slow at first, then faster. The lieutenant finally looks at you. His face does not change, but his eyes do. Now he knows. You stop between him and the kid. No speech, no badge, no heroic line. Just your body in the wrong place at the wrong time. The lieutenant steps closer. You sure about this? You should say no. You should laugh it off. Step aside. Let the lie survive one more night. Instead, you look at the camera above the tier, the one you were never supposed to look at. Then you look back at him, and that is enough. The alarm sounds 30 seconds later. Doors slam. Guards rush in. Men shout from every cell, but you barely hear them, because the lieutenant is smiling now. Not angry, not surprised, just satisfied. He finally found the truth, and you just burned your whole life to save someone who will never know your real name. They do not pull you out like a hero. No sirens, no speeches, no agents storming the tier with your real name on their lips. That would get you killed. They pull you out like paperwork. At 5:40 in the morning, before breakfast, your cell door opens. A guard you have never seen before stands outside with two others behind him. Medical transfer, he says. The lieutenant is awake on the second floor. Of course he is. He watches you step out with your hands behind your back. No smile this time, no questions. Just that same cold understanding. He knows you are leaving. He knows why. And you know that if the FBI is moving you now, the operation is already burning outside these walls. They walk you through the unit in silence. Past the phones, past the tables, past the camera you finally looked at. Every step feels too slow. You wait for someone to shout your real name. No one does. The last gate opens into a medical hallway that smells like bleach and old coffee. A nurse checks your wristband. A guard signs a clipboard. Then a door opens behind them. Your handler is standing there in plain clothes. For 1 second, you do not recognize her as safety. You only see another person watching you. That is what prison has done. She nods once. It's over. But it is not over. Not really. By noon, federal teams hit 3 houses outside the prison. 2 corrupt officers are arrested in the parking lot before their shift. Hanley is taken quietly from his own kitchen, while his children are still asleep upstairs. The prison goes into lockdown. The gang loses its phones, its money routes, its outside hands. The case survives, the kid survives, and you survive. That is what the report will say. But reports are clean because reports are written by people who were not there. They will never mention how your hands shook when they gave your real clothes back, or how strange your name sounded when your handler finally used it, or how, when the final gate closed behind you, part of you still felt like you were on the wrong side. They give you your name back in a federal building with clean floors and quiet hallways. No chains, no count, no doors slamming every hour. Just coffee machines, office lights, and people talking like the world is normal. Your badge is placed on the table in front of you. Same badge, same name, same life you had before. But when you reach for it, your hand pauses. For months, that badge could not save you. Inside the prison, it meant nothing. A number mattered more. A bunk mattered more. A look across the tier mattered more. Your handler tells you the operation was a success. Indictments are coming. Corrupt officers are talking. The witness is alive. The young inmate has been moved. You nod like that should make you feel clean. It does not. That night, you go home to your apartment. Everything is exactly where you left it. Your couch, your sink, your bedroom door. But the silence feels wrong. Too open, too soft. You check the windows twice before you realize what you are doing. You sit with your back to the wall. You eat standing up. When a car door slams outside, your body turns before your mind does. Training did not do that. Prison did. Weeks pass. The Bureau calls you brave. The report calls you effective. The news never says your name. That is how it should be. But sometimes in the dark, you still hear the tear breathing. You still see the lieutenant standing outside your cell, calm enough to scare you. You still remember the fake name, the one they gave you, the one you hated, the one that kept you alive. And when someone calls your real name now, you answer, but not right away. First, for one quiet second, some part of you waits to hear the other one.